So is the Audi RS Q3 Sportback the best Audi RS model on sale today? Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video, which is a review of this Audi RS Q3 Sportback. Now, there have already been a number of reviews on this car, and most of them have come to the same conclusion, that it's a bit of a pointless exercise from Audi. But being an Audi RS fan, I wanted to find out for myself, and to do that I took the car on an epic 1800-mile road trip from here in Warwickshire to the Volkswagen factory in Wolfsburg, and during that time I got to know the car very well indeed, and it's what I learned on that trip I want to share with you today in this video. Could the Audi RS Q3 Sportback be the best Audi RS model on sale today? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's have a closer look at this very green car. Okay guys, let's get the ball rolling then by talking about the thorny issue of the Audi RS Q3 Sportback's price. So this is a £53,000 car. That's about £1,000 more than a normal RS Q3, so you do pay a bit more to get a bit less metal. In addition to that, this is an Audi Sport Edition, so you pay £4,350 extra for a bundle of factory fitted extras, which I think are probably a no-brainer. We'll talk about those shortly. And this car's got £3,000 extras on top. If you add on the on-the-road costs, which include £1,850 first year road tax, this car's just under £62,000, and it's not even the top model. You could order the Vorsprung model, which ticks pretty much every box, and that would be another £3,500. So it's a lot of money, but let's now have a closer look at it outside and inside and see where your money goes. Okay, firstly let's talk about what you get for the £4,350 extra you pay for the Audi Sport Edition. The most obvious change is that you have a black styling pack, so anything that's not body colour is black. So badges, diffuser, window surrounds, mirror casings, grille, it's all black. I think the technical term is gangster. Then you get LED matrix headlights, so these are functionally better than the standard LEDs you get on the normal model, but they're also black. You get a pan roof, which is black, and you get a sports exhaust, which, as well as sounding good, we'll talk about that later, is also, guess what, black. You get an upgrade from the standard model's 20-inch wheels to 21s, and guess what colour they are? Black, but you can spec them in diamond cut if you don't want them to be all black. But I think as a package this works amazingly well. This car's also got about £3,000 worth of extras, so it's got RS Sport Suspension Plus, which to me, when I read it, sounded like it was going to be really hard, but actually it's adaptive dampers, so basically the old mag ride. And I'm a bit disappointed that it's not a standard feature when you're giving people 21-inch wheels in the UK. So you do have to spec it, but I would highly recommend it. But we'll talk about how it rides and handles when we do the driving bits. It's also got the comfort and sound pack, which we'll talk about inside. That's again a no-brainer. And the colour, so this is Kai Alami Green. I think it's named after a racing circuit in South Africa. And if it's a bit like Viper Green you could order on the RS3 Sportback and Saloon, but that would have been through the Audi exclusive program and cost £2,400. This is just an optional colour in the range, and it's £575, so I think that's a bit of a bargain if you like green. The base colour, the standard colour for £0 extra, is the Nardo Grey, which again suits the car well, and if you go for the Audi Sport Edition in Nardo Grey, I think that looks amazing. But if you want to make a statement, this car does look good. I hate to say it, it's actually growing on me, but that could be my midlife crisis coming to the fore. Right, now let's just take in the styling then. So we have a swoopy back on the back of a Q3, basically. That's what the Sportback is. BMW pioneered, you could say this, with the X6 back in about 2007, and that didn't go down well. That put me off swoopy SUVs for quite a long time, but Audi seemed to manage to have done this really well, and generally everybody loves the styling on this car. And I'm pleased to say it's designed by a Brit. Matt Bagley, I think, has done an amazing job. Yeah, so yeah, it's, people call it the baby Urus, and that makes a lot of sense. Urus is what they're getting on for like 200,000 quid. This is yours for a third of that. Okay, it's smaller, but blimey, it's got a lot of the presence of a Urus. Wherever we've been in this car, whether it's Europe or UK, people have taken photos of it, and it's, you know, I can't say I blame them. And the flies love it as well, which is the same across Europe. So yeah, styling wise, I think it's absolutely nailed it. And I'm not a big fan of SUVs, but I would drive this car. The colour, as I said, I'm not 100% sure about, but the styling is bang on for me. Right, let's now have a look inside the Audi RSQ3 Sportback. Oh, before we do that, I'm so glad they've actually put a proper badge on, because they were a bit timid with this on the old RSQ3, and they just put a badge that said RS, which looks a bit stupid. Okay, now let's have a look inside. Okay, well, the first thing you notice without even getting in the car is the smell of expensive leather, which I can't say is something I noticed with the new A3 Sportback I reviewed about a month ago. And that's because we do have a lot of lovely leather here, and this lovely diamond stitching, which I think could only be better if the stitching was in Kyalami green to match the exterior. So these are great seats. We sat in these for 2,000 miles and we didn't think about them once, which is a sign of a good seat. And that's probably because they are multi-adjustable. So you've got lumbar support there and electric adjustment for the seat generally, which is a nice little luxury touch on this car. You've got integrated headrests, a bit of Alcantara there, which makes it look a little bit sportier and ties in with the Alcantara elsewhere in the cabin. So we've got that on the door cards here, which does liven up the door card a lot. It might look a bit plasticky without that. And we've got Alcantara on the dash top as well, which is a really, really nice touch. Very subtle, probably not an expensive thing for them to do, but it really does mark this car out as expensive. Down here we've got a Bang & Olufsen branded speaker, because we've got the B&O sound system that comes as part of the comfort and sound pack. That also comes with a reversing camera, which I can show you. And it also comes with the extended ambient lighting pack, which I can also show you. So there we go, quite a few different shades there, including one to match the exterior. It gives you a little preview on the screen there as well. I think we'll stay with, which one? 14 or 15? Let's go for the most offensive one, that's 14. Okay, so we've got the well-known now virtual cockpit. This came out with the TT in 2014, and it would be weird to see an Audi without it. Can you order an Audi without it? We've got probably the best Audi interior. I don't have a problem with touchscreens on the Golf and the ID3. I don't particularly like the Audi one because the climate controls are low down. In the VW version, it's integrated into the main screen. So here we have a main screen that's pretty much infotainment and some car settings. It also runs Apple CarPlay really nicely, which is what we use. We went around Europe mainly on using Waze, which was a bit hit and miss, but no fault of the car. Waze doesn't work very well in Europe, I think we found out. So yeah, you use that mainly for infotainment. You've got the traditional climate control buttons here. Unlike the A3, we've got red and blue. I mean, how can you really beat this? I think that was a problem. This is peak Audi cabin, and there's only one way to go from peak, and that's down. So that's a real shame. We've got Drive Select here, which gives you the driving mode. So you've got efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic. The individual mode now has become RS1 and RS2, so you have two different individual modes. So you could have a real eco mode there if you wanted, and you could have a real sporty mode there if you wanted, which it looks like we have got. And that is operated not by a fiddly button down here designed for a driver to be on this side of the cabin, but by a steering wheel button there that says RS1 and RS2 on the cockpit, on the virtual cockpit when you press it. So that is a really, really nice touch. You just do that with your thumb when you're driving, rather than sort of try and press the traction control off by mistake and go and crash. So yeah, this is a keyless car, which means that we've got a start-stop button there. It does mean also that to get in the car, you can't do it. Thank you. You can't do it from the back because there's no sensor for the keys here. You have to do it from the front, which was a bit annoying as we were getting in and out of the cars on our trip, but I've only ever seen that on Porsche Macan, but so it is possible, just not within the budget for an Audi. We've got paddle shifters which are a bit bigger than they have been, but they're still a bit plasticky, but I'm sure that's so they don't embed into your skull when you have an accident. We've only got normal cruise control, which is a bit of a disappointment, because when you're used to adaptive cruise control, you really do miss it, especially when you're driving on motorways across Europe. You have to pay extra for the driver assistance pack to get that. That's £800 and comes with a few other bits and pieces. So plastic quality is generally excellent. This is all good. They're not particularly nicely damped, these, strangely. Prefer them on the Golf 8s. And I think the new A3, they're a bit... they're alright, I'm just being picky. My least favourite area, and I said this when I had the Audi Q3 S-Line 18 months ago, was that I just thought this looked a bit cheap. I think I described it as more Aldi than Audi. So yeah, they need to do something there. It's just that this looks like a sticker, or, you know, really sort of one-dimensional. We've got some standard looking cup holders that won't offend people who don't like the new ones on some cars. We've got a pretty decent storage bin there. In the centre armrest, we've got the knob there for the volume, and you can also go back and forth on the tracks as well, which has been replaced by a flat sort of thing on the new A3 Sportback that's not as tactile by any means. Heated seats are standard and have been very useful on our trip. We've got the new style headlight switch, which is just like 3 buttons, but again, you shouldn't really need to touch that. You just leave it in auto mode, it looks after itself. Okay, before we have a look at the space in the back, I'm just going to make sure for definite I'm in my driving position, so that's probably a bit too far forward. Let's try that. The seats, by the way, are really massively adjustable, so if you want to get your head right on the ceiling, you can do, literally in the sunroof aperture. And if you want to get really low down to have that sportier feeling, you probably should have bought an RS3 Sportback, but you can do that as well. That's probably somewhere in the middle on an SUV, suits me. I'm 6 foot tall, so yeah, that's about right. Right, let's have a look in the back. Okay, so still got the quilting, which isn't the case necessarily on like a TT. And yeah, footwell space looks pretty good. Bit of storage down here. Bit weird how you can see like a bolt down there that holds a seat belt in. Does it look particularly good, that? That cord there is to fold the seats down. There's nothing on the back of the seat. Trying to get that flat again is a bit of a mission. Right, so let's get in. Got B&O on there as well, that's nice. Yep, Alcantara extends to the back as well. Okay, so knee room is not bad. Now bear in mind this is an A3 based car, so it's going to be there or thereabouts the same. This is important as well because it affects the length of the boot when you fold the seats down, as we found when we put a big bike in the back of it, and it was really touching the backrest of the seat, which meant that passenger comfort in the front was compromised on our trip. So yeah, it's not as big a car as you might think, but for most needs it's perfect, and you can always take the wheel off the bike, both wheels off the bike, to make it fit. But yeah, it's all right. Obviously you can't adjust the height of this seat, and I can feel my hair sort of touching the headliner, which means I can at least brace if someone's driving it like an RS model with my head. But yeah, it is quite tight, but obviously well judged to allow it to look good from the outside without being too restrictive on the inside. Yeah, not a bad place to be, but yeah, it's not going to be the most spacious cabin, but other models are available. Okay, let's have a look in the swoopy boot. It's got power tailgate, which rather cleverly you can actually close it and lock the car with that button, but if you leave the key in there, it doesn't work. So you can open it on the key as well. Okay, so it's a reasonably big boot. Obviously the height of it is compromised by the swooping quarter panel. So on an RS, on a Q3 normally you'd get a bit more of this area here, but on this, yeah, looks take priority. But that's still a pretty big boot for most people's needs, I think. Under there's a little bit of extra storage maybe, but not an awful lot, so it is what it is. So yeah, if you've got a family of 4, it might be a little bit too small, but you can always make it look even better by sticking a roof box on the top. Right then, I suppose you might want to have a look under the bonnet. If you don't, fast forward to so yeah, on the right hand, on the correct side, like an Audi should be. And there we have the 5-cylinder engine in all its glory. So 400 horsepower, 480 Newton meters of torque. And for the geeks out there, it's a DNW engine code, which I'm pretty sure is the same as the RS3 that's currently for sale with the OPF. So it's got petrol particulate filter. But does that make any difference to how this car sounds, really? There's only one way to find out. Let's go and drive this very green Audi RS Q3 Sportback. Okay guys, here we are just about to join a motorway here in England, and this is quite an unusual thing for one of my videos, but I'm doing it because it's what I've done a lot in this car while I've had it, and most of my driving has been plagued by what can only be called pretty perfect quattro weather. Now we'll put the car into comfort mode and we'll do the speed limit of 70 miles per hour, and hopefully you'll be able to hear that this is a very soothing and comfortable car. Not a lot of tyre noise, which surprised me, bearing in mind we've got 255s on 21-inch wheels, and there's not a lot of wind noise as well. So it's a very easy place to cover big distances in, and that's exactly what I think an RS model is for. Bearing in mind this is a German car, and they have the autobahns out there where they can do 100 and whatever speed they want. This car will do 155, which I think is ample for driving around Germany. Unless you're going to make a special effort to go out late, you'll find it very hard to top that. So this is the perfect autobahn car for just covering great distances in, and that for me is a key quality of an RS model. Now on this car, to make that kind of driving easier, we have side assist, so we get a flashing orange light in the mirror when a car is in the blind spot, which makes driving abroad really, really easy. This car should have lane assist, but I can't actually see any display for it on the dashboard, even though it's in the car settings for driver assist systems here, which is a bit peculiar. We missed that, and we also missed adaptive cruise control, which, as I mentioned earlier, was an option. You have to buy the driver assistance package to get that. That would have made life even easier. But the core car, the basic platform for the car, is designed to cover miles very easily in, and I think just being a little bit higher makes it that little bit better at doing that than, say, an RS3 Sportback, which itself is a great car. Right, now let's go and try something a little bit different. Did you hear that whistle there? And I love that. I've never heard that in an RS before, but it just reminds me of driving through the forest in Stig's rally car. So yeah, here we are guys on a British B road, and the first thing I need to tell you is that with these adaptive dampers, dynamic mode is not too hard. I think that's a first for an Audi, but it's actually perfectly well judged for these kind of roads. It's almost like it's been designed for it. Generally, dynamic mode is designed for the smoothest German roads and is too hard for here, but no, it's just right. In fact, the other modes are a little bit too soft. In dynamic mode, you still get a degree of compliance, but you get body control that is better than you really expect for a car on stilts like this, and I will show you now. So it's just as well we can access it with the RS button on the steering wheel. And we've got that 5-cylinder howl going on. I don't know why people moan about OPF cars, because this car is loud. a 2-litre TSI is the next engine down. That just doesn't make any noise. This makes enough noise, and if you don't think it makes enough noise, I'd recommend you get your ears syringed. We've got bigger brakes as well on the front, 2-piece RS trademark brake discs, which is probably just as well because you're going to need them. And it doesn't pitch an awful lot under braking, which is kind of a common thing on SUVs. Now these are famous for understeer, but I don't find that a problem these days. They tend to drive from the back more in dynamic road, and they push the back out to just quell it when they sense it. So yeah, that was pretty tidy, I think you will agree. So yeah, it's a good car, this. But it's got one little more party trick that we've never done on this channel before, and I think we ought to do that right now. Okay guys, I think it's a bit of a YouTube cliche to do launch control, but I've never done one before, so let's do it. So I'm in manual mode, I've got my foot on the brake, ESC off, which is a bit scary, start stop off, auto hold off, foot on the brake, off. That's 60 miles an hour. Wow, that is yeah, quite good fun. Wow, you've not lived until you've done a launch control in an Audi RS product, I think, and the fact you can do that in a car that can drive you around Europe so comfortably in all weathers and be good fun on a British B road as well just shows you what complete kind of package this car is. So is the Audi RS Q3 Sportback the best Audi RS model on sale today? I would have to say yes. Audi RS models are not the most dynamic cars in the world. A GTI would run rings around an RS3 on that B road, so losing a little bit of dynamic polish to make it an SUV isn't really a great loss, but what it does give you is a car that's got even more point-to-point ability than a normal RS3, and that's what I think Audi RS models are all about, getting from A to B, whatever the weather, in comfort, but still having fun on a British B road. The RS Q8 is a similar sort of car, but it's way too big for the UK. This car fits lovely on a British B road. You can throw it around, there's enough room in the lane to make adjustments if something's coming the other way, and I think because of that it's the best RS model on sale today. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volks Wizard video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share, please do subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.